Well, good evening and a warm welcome to the Turning Point for ITN Sri Lanka. And on Turning Point, we like to discuss matters closest to the heart of the people of Sri Lanka, yours and mine and everybody else's. And we try and get people who know a thing or two about what they're talking about. And who else this evening? Our guest is described in 2016, won an award actually for that, for the best finance minister in Asia, former cabinet minister, and a long-serving and patriotic member of his party. He's right here, of course, with us this evening to share his thoughts, his vision, and what he analyzes to be the way forward for Sri Lanka. None other than Mr. Ravi Karunanayake. Good evening. Thank you for being on the program.
Good evening, Farhaz. Thank you for getting me on Turning Point.
Thank you. Truly, Sri Lanka, it is a turning point for Sri Lanka as well, isn't it? After the 2 years of whatever.
Well, yes, I would say it's not a turning point. It's moving forward.
Right.
Because the turning point was when it went into bankruptcy.
Right.
And the government at that time had no clue or foggies of clue as to how to take it forward.
Right.
And with the election of President Wickremesinghe,
Yeah.
you saw that stability came in and the approach was taken to the next level. We ensured that at that time, 2.5 years ago, to put a switch, there was no lights. You get on the road, there was no buses and cars. You had no gas, you had no dollars coming in. So he had to ensure that he grapples the first thing is the economy. When there is problems or there is a lack of confidence from the outside world, he restored that by going two things. Until you go into bankruptcy, you can say that we can do it without IMF. Once you've done it, you have to go to nobody else but the IMF. So that process was fast-tracked. Financial discipline was brought in. Really, it is the people that paid the price for taking that course of financial, I would say, rectification.
Yeah.
And through that process, today you see the dividends coming out. So I think people, even though today life is not easy,
No.
but you're able to breathe at least than what it was that day. So I guess the way forward is how the economy has been changed, there has been restored, democracy has been brought in, and the country is back into good order.
I mean, this is a frequent hearing of mine when I'm been spending the last several months while I was waiting. People say, polimne, current එක තියෙනවා කන්න බොන්න පුළුවන් හැබැයි බඩු මිල වැඩි. So this has been replicated all over the country. Wherever I've been, this is the fundamental message. But also the fundamental message really is that the people don't want to go back to a situation where there were power cuts. 12, 13-hour power cuts is awful. And the food, our food security was at question because we couldn't transport the stuff around the country. And then, of course, we now have various measures that have been put into place. So what are the fundamentals of the President's policies that in your mind will take Sri Lanka to the next step? Because we're in a holding pattern now.
Sure. For us, as you quite rightly said, the situation that was then was something that nobody would ever like to go to. But Sri Lanka is a forgetting mentality.
Yes, we're rather myopic.
Yeah, you are. You forget what you ate in the morning when you get into the lunchtime. But I don't think that this is very much different to that. But one thing they have, even a person who is opposing Wickremesinghe says, this guy has done something. And that something is the ability to take you off from the food security that was in peril, the economy that was in shambles, and the economic no-go situation, whether the power, whether it's the dollar, whether it's the opening LCO, etc. So my feeling is that the people are being tested. Yes, life is not easy, as I told you before, but it is far better than going into a queue at cheaper rates when you are unable to get anything. Remember, 2019 was a situation when life was easy, but they preferred the hill on the other side, thinking that was greener. And what happened? You come in, you put an untested person, and finally you basically go in. You had a reduction in revenue, and end of the day, in 1 year, you were in the brink of disaster. So people remember that cheap things are no good, or the sweetness of lower prices will be long forgotten with the hardship that follows thereafter. So yes, you're paying the price for that democratic will they be expressed, which went nowhere. So my feeling is that continuity that Ranil is doing is that he chose best. He said, I don't want to be the most popular president, I want to be the most correct president, doing the correct thing. So that was a step that he decided to venture forward and then take it to the next level. Now what is that? Clear the economic debt that is there. We still owe almost $100 billion.
Yeah.
Now that today is proven to the world that we are able to pay our debts, whether it's from 228 or 232, whatever it is, that we are on the correct track. Now, within that process, we must collect our dollars to get ready for that 228. So it is very easy to say this, that, and the other. But IMF has given a prescription, which basically has to be adhered to and ensure that you take it to the next step. So my feeling is that that's the most tortuous process. Now, many out of the 38, 39 contestants in the presidential, they think that this is a wishful dream that is there. They can tell anything and everything and get it past you. That's just not the way. You've got to be financially disciplined. And when you're in line with IMF, there are certain strictures that you've got to adhere to. That is why I think President Wickremesinghe decided to challenge Anura and Sajid so that they can come and get out of their rhetorics to say how they intend bringing down revenues, increasing costs, and also have a free lunch at the end of the day. So you just can't get to that point. That is the type of hypocrisy that basically is being carried out in today's political stages.
So the public would quite obviously be rather confused, because all these people, all the different people have they come up with different plans. But as a finance man yourself, as a business person, so on, you're fully exposed to the financial side of things. So therefore, what is your take? Everybody has these plans. Which one's going to work?
For us, Ranil Wickremesinghe inherited a sunken ship. It was not, he was not the captain at that time. So a captain that ran the ship aground, a sunken ship, this was not floating for survival. It just crashed land, it's down there. So he had to ensure that he had to resurrect that. In order to resurrect that, what he basically did was, he got his team, he decided this is the way forward, discussed the hard course of activity. I mean, any politician knowing in 2 years that you are confronted with an election would have gone through a completely different approach. But he decided to take the bull by its horns and then say, no, this is the way, invested at that time in hardness, brought the relief that is shown to the people and saying this is the way forward. Now all the other 38 are talking of wishful thinking. But this guy is doing the job.
So his plan's actually...
His plan is on, you see what is happening. Now you don't need, when you give a car to a person, you don't need to have an elbowed and then go and whack the car to every wall that is there or every car on the road. That is the difference. Or I mean, if you are having a surgery, entrusting your child to an operation, you would go to an unknown doctor. You would go to the best possible doctor. Now in the country, it is no different. You are come out of bankruptcy, you are going to take it to the better tomorrow, not only for yourself, but for the children and the future generation. So you test the most prudent and the most experienced player. I guess there is nobody else but Ranil on that. So this is the difference that basically come in. You have got to show that this is the way forward. So you don't need to have a tested approach when the man is doing the job. That's the difference. So all the others are having wish. Not only that, both these candidates, what I mentioned before, had the opportunity to take it from President Rajapaksa at that time. But one was missing in action, the other one was sick. They couldn't grapple the target that was there before them, because they thought that will be bruising them politically. But Ranil Wickremesinghe, knowing the capacity and how much of brink we were in, decided to take it on because he had a vision and a plan. He knew it was not a 2-year job, but he knew that he can put it on the platform for survival and then resurrecting the economy to ensure that we go into the next level.
And so, they say in sales, they say if you don't ask, you don't get. And what's the message that President Wickremesinghe and his team, including people like you, What's the message you're taking to the people?
Well, I would say the people are going through some tough times.
Yes.
But they were going through absolute disaster then.
Yeah.
So when you are going from a bad case to a better position, do you need to recheck yourself to get back to how good the future would be? I mean, you take the wrong turn and you can be worse than what you were in 2022. So this is the clarion call that would be telling for me to the people, is that let's get behind the 2-year success story. I mean, you look
Let's
at
get behind the plan that's working.
plan that is working. You had the economy back into order.
Yeah.
You had, I mean, the dollar strengthening.
Yeah.
You had the LCs being open now.
Yeah.
The people are basically accepting, yes, this is the way forward. The economy, tourism is buzzing.
Yeah.
The dollars are coming. You know, I mean, 2022 May, you didn't have $100,000 to even afford to get a kilo of petrol.
Indeed.
There were 22 ships that came into the port and went because they couldn't get the money. So when you are looking at that, you need to test yourself with untested captains. That is the difference which I call upon. Take it. This 5 years is absolutely important. Yesterday, all manifestos have been basically shown to the people.
Yeah.
Now see, as for President Wickremesinghe, he basically able to embody everything and able to put it forward in 5 main points. One is the trade economy.
Yeah.
Next is the operation beyond 2025. Then towards a prosperous nation. And the win for the motherland in all areas. I mean, our Sri Lankan society is made of a democracy that is demographic actions of Sinhala, Tamil, Muslim, Burghers, Malays, all put together make us a very prosperous Sri Lankan nation.
Yeah.
Now that's the way forward. You can't look
So our strength is in our diversity.
diversity. Unity in diversity is our strength.
Yeah.
And the other one is the united Sri Lanka that is there. So whether we basically talk in Colombo or in Batticaloa or in Jaffna or in Hambantota, Sri Lanka or overseas, we must be able to speak one voice. And that is to say, we need a strong Sri Lanka.
And when people talk about driving the prices down, the cost of living down, how important is this program of giving people, converting their licenses, their land licenses to title deeds?
Well, look at the difference in the approach. Ranil Wickremesinghe wants to create a strong asset-based economy. So instead of the government holding, he decides to give 200 to 300,000 houses back into the owners.
Yeah.
His government role. His privatization is making the people asset rich. Because when you give a collateral, you are able to ensure that he can stand on his own feet. Use the asset to get your business to go forward or to plan yourself into the future, etc. Then the lands, 2 million land plots that were being given.
Yeah.
People who didn't have a single perch is suddenly having 10, 15 perches. Now they can leverage that into economic activity or economic success. Then the next one that was there, the farmers that were basically doing their farming on other people's lands, paying high prices. Today they can leverage their land and say, please ensure that they are able to do their own future. So this is the way forward that we see. And once again, when it is happening, when you have 2 million farmers 2 million people who own land, 500,000 people who own houses, your farming land is being confirmed, what more that you can ask?
On that note, let's look at further the way forward with the former finance minister and Asia's best finance minister 2016 after this short break on Turning Point for ITN Sri Lanka. Welcome back to the Turning Point for ITN Sri Lanka. Our guest today is Mr. Ravi Karunanayake. No real introduction needed. Ravi, you've spent a lifetime almost in politics. You've been a stalwart of your party, and amongst lots of challenges along the way. Are challenges part of political life?
Yes, I would say. It's not a bed of roses.
No. So democracy is never easy.
It is not easy, but Sri Lanka has an unusual tendency for that.
Right.
Where there's an acrimonious political relationship that exists. I think
Right.
we need to get that behind us.
Right.
Can have democracy in a much more healthy, friendly manner.
Right.
But this is not in that line.
So finally, in Sri Lanka, we've come out of this sort of dark, quite literally dark, because we had 12, 13-hour power cuts, days and days in fuel queues, carrying the gas canister from here to there, and not even a foot, and it was bad days. So now, how well do you think that the public understand the economy of this whole thing? We're in a stable position, yes. The growth. How can you best explain it to the public?
For us, if you look at, we gained independence from the British 76 years ago.
Yeah.
But have we got true economic freedom? Everybody loves to be selling a nationalist approach or sovereignistic approach.
Yeah.
End of the day, you only sell your country and don't make it to the progressive country that we should be in.
Yeah.
Sri Lanka and Japan in 1948 had per capita of $49 per person.
Yeah.
But today we are 3,900 while Japan is almost 60,000.
Yeah.
So there is a way forward in the way that we should basically change our thinking process. Now, what is before us that we have been heard and see is sometimes disbelief for some rhetoric that is uttered to show that you have something much better tomorrow. Now, that is where we have lost our way forward. We need to ensure that we consolidate.
Yeah.
Let's reboot ourselves to ensure that we get to the correct point, that is accept reality. Now, we are basically able to breathe. Now, do you want to pull the plug away and ensure that we go back into the disasters? This thing, we call upon the people. This is the time to invest in the future. Let's not try what is good. Ensure what is going on is the best. Ranil Wickremesinghe has pledged into the future, taking the youth into the aspirations that they would look at. Now, what are they looking at? Ensure a better tomorrow. These youth don't want to be running after politicians to get a job or to live off their dictates.
Yeah.
They want to be living honorably on their own skill with financial assistance. I believe that we should be able to churn out a million of entrepreneurs, that Sri Lanka would take it to the next level. Not that you can't make this country, whether there's a will to take this country. Then the next one is the women of this country. They have gone through the most hardest times, especially in the last 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Ensure that we give them honorability in able to ensure they have a better tomorrow. And the elderly people of this country, they want a better tomorrow than today. So that is the plan that has been exposed in yesterday's manifesto session, which Ranil Wickremesinghe says, don't believe, prove and look at what I have delivered to you. I am started this race 2 years ago. We went through the most toughest times with you. Now please ensure, allow me to take you to the winning post. That's the difference between the rest who are exposing their inability or their unknown knowledge to a person who is delivering with vision and with, I would say, responsibility.
So in essence, really, what you're saying is that you should not gamble with what we have now.
Well, we are people who basically wish that we get 2 kilos of rice from the moon. Then when we had bread at 5, we lost ourselves to 350 and changed governments. We always want to ensure that we do something which is not sustainable. End of the day, there is no free lunch. Somebody has to pay for this.
Yeah.
Nobody calculates that impact. Now, today we are having almost 2.4 million people on Asfasuma. Now, we have almost 5.5 million families. So, does that mean 50% of us live on sustainability? Now, that is not the reality. There is much more who should get, who is not getting. And out of the 2.3 million, you are getting people who don't need to get, is getting. Now, that is the type of, I would say, hypocrisy that we practice.
Lopsided patriotism.
Now, how many people during COVID, people used to come in cars and try to get 5,000 rupees? Now, they think that this is a national sport, trying to outwit the government. collecting a 5,000 rupees. This has to change. We need to enter now today's government servants. We have 1.7 million people. But they also want an honorable way forward. They don't want to just get a salary and do nothing. Let them be put into a much more nation building exercise. They love to get that opportunity if they are given so. But what they have done is they are not given that opportunity. Let us digitalize our economy and take it to a better tomorrow. Look at India, that is rolling today. They are rock and rolling. What they were 10 years ago, today they have transformed themselves into a nation that has a vision, a passion, and take it to tomorrow, to a better tomorrow. That's what we should be basically doing. And we are on the correct track. We were on by roads, now we are on the expressway. Now let's get into the final destination.
And you firmly believe that the policies in place today is the springboard for the future?
It is certainly a springboard to the correct destination, but there are rectifications. I don't say everything is right. No, there has to be certain corrective action. But in the time framework and with the players that were there, you had to come up with something quick. Now the IMF, the 17th agreement that they're there, is not the best that could be done. But in a time that you are basically able to come out of your debt in 2 years is phenomenal. I guess that is laudable.
Very quickly, as you come towards the end of our program, very quickly, are you able to tell me, because I've been listening to all these people, lots of them say, well, we're going to change, we're going to renegotiate, we will change the IMF agreement. As a person with some experience in this, you have more knowledge on this than the average person in this country. True or false? How easy to change?
Absolutely impossible. May I take an example in this manner? For us, everybody, you, me and the people that are here, they would basically use a bank to get a loan, overdraft or whatever in order to keep economic activities going.
Yeah.
Now, the bank has certain conditions that you're going to fulfill taking a loan.
Yeah.
IMF is no different. Country is the consumer, goes into a bank, IMF, they basically have agreement that they have got to look into. Now, when you look at this bank in Sri Lanka, having conditions, these are the interest rates, these are the way to pay, if you are renegading, you have got to do this, etc. The same is what IMF is doing. Now, what are they doing? Their shareholders are the countries that are there, that puts money into them.
Yeah.
Now, 18 countries through the Paris Club have accepted IMF to negotiate the country's debt and make it a sustainability.
Yeah.
Now, there are guys that are basically saying they can go and say this, that and the other.
Yeah.
That is why President Wickremesinghe challenged them, come and tell this in front of the people,
Yeah.
whether I am lying or whether you all are pretending to not know and lying. Then you basically know this is the way forward. Now, they are basically saying that you can change certain conditions.
Yeah.
Well, is President Wickremesinghe an idiot to the extent that he would bring unwanted burden on the people when he is also a politician? So, the IMF is looking at how best you are able to get to those targets that they have given. Now, none of them, all their manifestos are out.
Yeah.
Two of the principal parties, have they said, this is the way forward. One is reducing costs to the level that you have no way to accommodate the rest of the running of the economy. Now, 1% of the VAT being reduced is roughly 74 billion reduction. 74 billion into 5% is roughly about 350 billion. 74 billion to 5 is 350 or 360 billion.
Yeah.
Now, how on earth are you getting that money collected from any other source? Now, reduction in cost.
Yeah.
What are you going to say, reduction? Where are the reduction in cost? You think there's extravaganza that is on? No, they have pruned it to the bare minimum. So, on that basis, revenue reduction is the way that 2019 that the country went into bankruptcy. The same thing is the other parties exposing their inability of really taking economy to the next level, because they are saying they are going to increase costs. Now, where is the limit? They are going to say fertilizer at 5,000. Now, you think President Wickremesinghe is not giving the best possible? Is he making unwanted gain? For what purpose? So, he is giving what is possible in the limited resources allocated against the unlimited wants. So when you are basically able to do this particular one, you're going to position yourself, what can you reduce, what can you increase? Now, in reducing, they are saying they'll reduce VAT in this manner, pay that is on. Now, they are telling things that Ranil is going to do. The pay from 100,000 will be increased to 200,000, get those benefits. Now, they have shown the revenue reduction, the increase in reduction in expenditure, the increase in revenue, that's going to match one another. There is no way that you can reduce cost and increase expenditure and then say, okay, here we are good to go. That's the difference that is there. So, I guess proven ability and person who has the maturity to add Sri Lanka to the world, ensure that the economy is moving sustainably and in a sustainable manner, we have got to rely upon that instead of taking any chances at all.
So, end of the day, expertise and experience versus theory and rhetoric.
Absolutely right. I would sum it in the same manner and also add one more rhetoric, which basically is showing today that people is no more gullible in the manner they were. Today, I mean, there's a silent vote that is there, and they have realized that President Wickremesinghe is taking it in a manner which is knowledgeable to a destination that the country would want to go through.
Ravi Karunanayake, thank you very much for being on The Turning Point.
Thank you.
Wonderful to have you all here listening to us, and that's the way it was. So take care. We'll see you on another day on another version of Turning Point, but all designed to address your needs, the people's needs, only here on ITN Sri Lanka. Take care and bless you all.